Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, January 17th, 2024. Just chugging along here right through January. Seems like we just started it. Let's go ahead and jump back to yesterday, take a look at what happened here. So there were two areas I gave you guys, and we'll go back and take a look here. There were two pockets that I gave you, and I told you these were probably the most reliable areas above us that would make sense for the market to turn and pull back for the bearish sentiment. Because remember what we said, it was a little bit more of a mixed market yesterday. There were some clues that the market could bounce. There were a lot of bearish clues that that bounce was going to be contending with. And so it was kind of like I told you, you might want to just take it on the short time frames and see what levels end up holding. So what happened right out of the open here, we peaked right into our roadmap level at 04. Again, there's 04, just absolutely killing it. If you shorted 04 in the morning, you should have made all your money there right out of the open. Again, I'm not saying that was the best thing to do, but theoretically, first roadmap level, I mean, this happens so many times, holds, and then it brings us to our next roadmap level for the bounce. So we held the first scaffolding, tried to parry off the VWAP there, no strength. In fact, that was one of those beautiful, just about 50% retraces right there to go ahead and fail. And then we came down, and it was essentially a stair step, right? First roadmap level. They tried to bounce off that one, didn't work. They didn't come back to kiss that second roadmap level, but when they got through the hopeful, they used it to the back end. And again, another little opportunity to get a 10-point scalp down to the major retracement we were watching. So they ducked through the retracement by less than 2 points, came back, got a little trouble off the VWAP, but held the 200 and the hopeful. Again, this break was less than 2 points and went ahead, and that began the stair step. So we stair stepped up, right? Roadmap level here, hopeful, got through this 97, pulled back, bounced 2 ticks in front, got through 04 again, came back and hit it to the tick, got through the previous daily low, used that, and then again just pulled back and held the previous daily low. And then the high of the day was the little pocket I told you, right around 50% of the previous day in the close. And I told you that if the bulls could not get through this pocket right here, either the previous daily low to the scaffolding or the previous daily close to the previous daily 50% area, that was going to be a clue that the bears were actually in power, right? So we held off the back end of the pocket. The very level I told you guys was going to be that line in the sand for our bullish bearish bias yesterday, and they couldn't get through. So again, it basically stair-stepped down the roadmap levels. Then for the bullish side of things, when they came back in power, stair-stepped up those roadmap levels and then couldn't get through the main area I highlighted in our report and in the broadcast. And from there, it was a little messy, but they came back and retested that same area again. So we got a double top right off the pocket that I warned you guys about. And then from there began a little pullback. And still, on these deep pullbacks, in fact, that was probably a textbook 61.8 retrace. Let's see how far it got. Yeah, nearly to the tick. So you got this nice rally out of the, just after the morning pullback there out of the open, and then came right back to the 61 to go ahead and try and come back and break out through the pocket that we had resistance at. There was a nice parry, actually, one of those textbook crossovers, retested the 200 and the previous daily low, this is the second pocket, for a pullback to VWAP. So you did have an opportunity there for about 6, maybe even 7 points to VWAP. And then, again, held this roadmap level at 97. This was a really good level all yesterday, bouncing off of it to the upside, holding it to the downside, and then holding it here with a less than 2 point break for the push back up. On the push down, it was essentially a stair step down. If you look at the levels, I mean, it was literally, even when we have levels just a couple ticks away, we see it happen so often. We saw it on the way up, stepping up each one of these, even though they were just a couple ticks away. And then on the other side, 50% of the previous day, previous daily close. Very interesting. And then down through the scaffolding, we hold that. And then we got down through the second roadmap level, and it just couldn't get through. Got down through this one, held it with less than 2 points, got lower. Then we got a parry right off our next roadmap level to test VWAP. And there's your hold from the bearish side. And that's why I mentioned if you orient yourself on the bearish side and you're trying to trade that direction, a lot of times these tests of our levels, and especially VWAP and some of the others, are the opportunities that you get. And then if it becomes a bullish side, you want to start targeting the top ends and expecting potentially a stair step up. And so we saw that happen all day yesterday. And I think the sexiest thing about yesterday is, first of all, we bounced right off the 38 retrace we're watching. Second of all, the pocket that I emphasize as being extremely important for the bulls to get through is exactly where the high of the day was, and then they failed from there. Pretty cool. So that kind of brings us here into the overnight session. We didn't kind of nail the low of the day, but it got really close to 50% of the previous week and our roadmap level there. So let's look at what happened in the overnight session so we can get into our pre-market this morning. Again, tried to break out through VWAP yesterday, and kind of right at the last few minutes of the extended hour there, they held and didn't really go anywhere, and then fell below it in the overnight session. So once we held below the VWAP here last night, some decent opportunities to get short. You had to be pretty aggressive with it. I mean, hit the FMA to the tick there for the push lower. Notice what happened at the retrace. This is not necessarily like our proprietary level. It's just the major retrace of the leg we're in. So most people are probably aware of it. And look at how much trouble, I mean, going all the way back. They just could not get through the 38 retrace, could not get through the 38 retrace, failed off 50% on the bounce off of it, and then came back and basically bounced around it. Couldn't really get through it yesterday, right? And then here in the overnight session, they come back and test it again nearly to the tick. So it comes down, couldn't, obviously the bulls were not in power there, brought it lower, and then they bounced last night. One of the biggest bounces last night was the 50% retrace that I gave you guys yesterday. Gave you this retrace, and the third one yesterday, and we basically held that for bounces all yesterday, and then in the overnight we just bounced right off the 50. So is it coincidence? I'm not so sure. We see this type of stuff all the time where we stair step off the retrace levels, right? And that's exactly what's happened here. So let's take a look. Really nice parry off that. And then they came up to try to break out but could not get through VWAP. And here we are now, continuing to fail lower, getting bound through 50% of the leg that we're watching right now, just in the last few minutes. So let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames.